Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this cool book-looking box is Knowledge the Game. Knowledge the Game is a deck-building game, and each person is going to be playing this Seeker of Knowledge. Like, basically, think of, like, maybe a prophetic sage, or a very wizened king, or a powerful sorcerer, or lich, or whatever you want to think of. Just think of some sort of fantasy character that would be seeking all sorts of great and powerful knowledge. And then take a deck building game and basically give that particular person, which is you, like access to all of this, magic mana, this magic power, and then they then use that power to summon different creatures and different, create fortresses and citadels and things like that, all trying to basically claim this hidden forbidden knowledge. And the hidden forbidden knowledge cards are going to be your victory points of the game, but they're also going to give you special powers that you can use while you play this deck builder. Now, I've played lots of deck building games, and some of them are really good, and some of them are not so really good. I think you have to, whenever you talk about deck builders, I think there's a little bit of a there's a little bit of resistance, there, and I'll fully admit that I feel that way too. When somebody says, "Oh, hey, check out my new deck building game," I'm always like, okay, But when this game was presented to me by the designer of the game, and I took a look at the rules and I took a look at the different cards or anything like that, I was really, really taken by the fantasy theme that really seemed to just make sense. Like the whole process of the different flavor text and the knowledge cards and the different units and monsters and things that you can have. Everything just seemed to kind of seemed like it was part of a world, and it didn't feel very abstract, which is something that I really enjoy about games. If you've watched my videos, I really enjoy immersion. I like the story behind the game, and I like being inspired by the game in some way. And I really felt that way about Knowledge, because of just kind of like the whole idea of me being that wizened sage or whatever, and having an army of trolls and undead working for me, trying to make sure that I push and I attack. And that's the cool thing about this game too, is that one of the things you're almost constantly going to be doing is you're going to be attacking the other players, because you're going to have these battle cards in your hand, which are going to be these trolls, these undead, these dragons, these knights, these paladins, these priests, what have you, and you're going to be sending them out, and they're going to be battling the other players at the table, so you can actually directly affect somebody, which something I really, really enjoy. I think that deck builders miss out on a lot of times. It's just like, oh, hey, look me, I created this cool little deck, and I have a turn that lasts 10 minutes. That's what killed games like Dominion for me, which I didn't really enjoy. So I was very, very pleased with this one, but I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. So let me just show you how to play Knowledge, and then we'll come back here and I'll talk a little bit more about why I am digging it. All right, cool. Alright, so this is Knowledge, the card game. Now, this isn't going to be the setup each and every time that you play this game. I have just kind of chosen these cards to be part of the tableau. This is, as I said, a deck building game, so you are going to have these cards out here able to be purchased, and you have your top level, which are going to be normally, you don't have to play it this way, but normally what you do is you have 4 cards that are low as far as the amount it costs to purchase or summon the cards, as it's called in this game, and these are all 3. You can tell they cost 3 because in both this corner and that corner, they denote exactly how many mana, which is the resources of the game, it costs to summon that card and put it into your into your deck. And then the next row is 4, and the next row is the higher level ones, 5, 6s, or even 7s. Now, there's a couple of things I want to touch on here before I move forward and just talk about how the game is played. I mean, there are also the basic, mana cards that you're going to have, 1, 2, and 3. You can purchase those so you have more and more mana available to you, so that you can purchase bigger and better things. They also have these knowledge cards, +4 knowledge and +8 knowledge. Now, knowledge is the points of the game. You're going to get a lot of your points from knowledge cards here. You do start the game with 3 + 2 knowledge cards in your hand, so you have 6 points to start off with. These +4 knowledge and +8 knowledge, you might notice that the underneath you don't really know what the cards are. The reason for that is that underneath these cards, if you purchase it, you kind of randomly get what you get, because the knowledge cards are exactly that. They're knowledge. You're learning something about the world. You're learning something about attacks and defenses and what have you, and they're going to give you a special power. And so you have this cover over here, so you have no idea what you're getting. So in this case, it's like the poison of the Basilisk knowledge. You have learned how to harvest basilisk poison from a trade agreement with the Basilisk King Kashar. And then it says here, when you have this card in your hand, you may roll a 6 in battle. Your enemy trashes their card. Now that doesn't make a lot of sense to you right now, because I haven't talked about battles, but that's a pretty powerful ability. Basically, trashing a card in deck building is way different from discarding. When you trash a card, you actually destroy it. So if somebody's got a good card and they attack you, you basically have the knowledge of the Basilisk poison, and if you roll lucky on your d6, you can have somebody get their card destroyed. So like some other cards here, you are now a mover of the earth. After studying the mighty earth mover techniques from each tribe, you too now can move giant pieces of earth, and now you can revive a structure from your graveyard and put it on top of your deck. So in your graveyard, in this case, is your discard pile. It's not a trash pile. So so you could use that ability as long as you have that knowledge card in your hand, because these cards will be part of your deck. You'll have that ability, and you just show that card, and you go ahead and add that ability to whatever it is that you can be doing. Just a couple of these +4 knowledges. You'll learn the ways of the elf. Nature's now your master. If you have this card in your hand, you get +1 mana. So you get a little extra mana to use. Let's hear the way of the war elephant. You'll learn the ways of the war elephant. On your turn, you gain +1 card. So so normally, like in a lot of these games, you're going to have a hand size. Your hand size is 5. And then, so like with that card, you could just, have another card in your hand. So, I mean, I like how these are kind of hidden. And you'll notice that there is this card, which is the Legends. Now, there's no art on these, but I wanted to show these because I thought these were really cool. So these legends, they cost a lot, right? They cost 7 mana to get. But these are like legendary heroes. So like the Orc Thief, or, Jahu legend, I can only assume that, is some sort of mystical creature or mystical person. Ulfbert, and if I remember correctly, Ulfbert is because you can tell it's green for a structure, but also it's got red, meaning attack. And I think Ulfbert was like a stronghold or something. I can't remember, but like you can see, it has these things that blocks attack, stuff like that. And so I also like the fact that you have this, Legends card. So like you pay 7, you kind of randomly get something. No, most of those legends are pretty awesome, but it's like you never know exactly what you're going to get. It's kind of like the prize claw, if you will. You're aiming for something, but you never know if you're going to get what you want. Now, there's one other deck like that. I didn't put it out there. It has the potions deck. Same deal. Costs 3. You're going to put that over. And then, like, the potion you get is random. And these are, like, one-shot items. So, like, you get +3 mana with that potion. After you have a knowledge card in your hand, on your turn, use this to gain an extra knowledge of the next highest value. So, you have different random potions as well. So, another cool thing that you can have in the game. And I kind of like that, as far as kind of the randomness of the draw, if you will. It's a neat little twist that I hadn't really experienced with any other deck builders I've played, and I've played a lot of deck builders. So anyway, and I'm sure somebody now will say, "Oh no, that's been used in game X or whatever, you ninny," and I was like, "Well, sorry, I didn't know about that one." But anyway, regardless. So the game is pretty straightforward. If you play deck builders, you're going to understand how this works. At the beginning of the game, you are going to get those 3 knowledge cards. You're going to get 7 of the mana 1 cards, and then each person gets to pick 1 of the lowest cost cards. So one of these 3s, and they get to pick 1 of the second lowest high. So they basically get to pick 1, 3, and 1, 4. For this particular case, I went ahead and I picked a knight and an Archer Tower as my 2 cards, and I put that in my hand. So you're going to start with a deck of 12 cards, and then you're going to, with a lot of these games, you're going to draw 5, and you're going to play them. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to make sure that I have my 2 special cards in my hand, just so I can kind of show you how this works. So, let's say, I draw my 5, and I'll just put those down there. And so I got both of these cool cards in my hand. So I get these 3, the mana, and then I get my knight, and I get my archer. Now, so the knight cards are battle cards. They're red. You can see there's plenty of them out here. The undead, giant spiders, trolls, whatever, dragons, wizards, and they kind of serve a dual purpose. One, they give you some special things, like they give you a +1 move, +1 mana. They allow you to do like other things. Move is considered actions. Just keep that in mind. It's an action card. So like, I could play, like this Archer Tower, and then that would give me a +1 move. So normally that would be the only card I could play, but then I could play this knight. But the thing is with battle cards, that's the big thing about this game, is the fact that you're going to be fighting the other people that are playing the game at the same time. And so when you battle somebody, what you do is you battle everybody else that's playing. So if you're playing a 4-player game, you're going to attack each and every player. Obviously, 2, 3, or 4, you're always going to be attacking, and you can't pick, who you're attacking. So you just start with the person to your left, and you go. Now, the big thing here is that, we're fighting with this knight. There's maybe a special ability that says, in battle, add +1 to your battle roll. Now, what happens is that each player gets to determine what they're going to do to defend themselves against that attack. Now, there's several different things they can do, and they're going to be limited by the cards that they have in their hand. These structures that you can build, like these Archer Towers and strongholds and whatever, they aren't like a card you put in front of you and you just have a permanent structure. You got to be lucky enough to have that in your hand to be able to use that to defend yourself. So, in combat, what's going to happen is that you're just going to say, okay, I'm attacking you with my knight. What do you do? Now, if they respond with another battle card, like a battle card from them, say like the first person had this skeleton in their hand, what's going to happen is that each of us is going to roll a d6, and then we're going to add the summoning cost of our card add that to the roll, and then so both of these add 3. But the knight gets a +1. So like if I roll, let's see here, I rolled a 3 plus, a 2 plus there, 3 to 5, and then +1 is 6. So let's see what the undead gets. We get a 2. So now I would defeat the undead. Now what happens here is that this then forces the person who used this card to defend themselves, a battle card, that would force them to put this card into their discard pile. So like, so they wouldn't have it in their hand when they would start their next turn. And then, but if you look here, if you roll a 6 in battle, you get to trash the enemy battle card. Enemy adds an undead card to their graveyard. That's kind of a cool little ability, right? So basically the undead kill the knight that would have attacked if I rolled a 6. And then I would have gotten an undead card that I would have been able to recycle back into my hand at some point. So obviously you can see when you battle somebody, you're going to get, like, they're going to have less actions, options as far as if you take out a monster or a battle card they happen to have in their hand. Now, if they had won, like, the battle, without a 6, like, just they won the battle without a 6, they don't destroy my card. However, they do get a mana stone for succeeding at that. And I'd like to just say, I realize this is probably a prototype and there probably aren't going to be these in the game, but I really, really like, they could have gone, the design of the game could have just given me a bunch of gems or something, like those little glass gems you see in a lot of things, but these are really cool. I don't know what kind of stones these are, but these are really, really cool. I like the fact that he used those for the mana stones. Now, as the attacker, winning the battle does not get me a mana stone. I don't get that bonus. Only the defender gets that bonus, is that they win the battle. If I don't win the battle, even if, like, the person doesn't trash me, I'm done. My move action is done at that point, and I have to go into my summon action of my turn immediately, because basically I've been defeated and I can't do anything about it. But in this case, like, I would have defeated him, the other person would have to discard that card, and then you would go on to the next person. Now, like, the next person, and I should mention really quickly here as well, I mean, notice how, like, the undead card had that special ability or whatever that said if you roll a 6 or what have you, A lot of the battle cards like have a lot of those abilities as well. Like say, like here's like the troll. If trashed, like if you attack with the troll and the troll got trashed, if trashed, stash 3 mana stones to use on your next turn. So like there's always going to be, I shouldn't say always, but for the most part, like your battle cards are going to have something about them that is going to like make them kind of unique and what have you, and that they're going to affect the game in some way when they're used. So always make sure you're paying attention to that and see what they do. Look at this giant spider, for example. The giant spider is nasty. So blindly choose a card from each enemy's hand and put it in their graveyard pile. This move can't be blocked. Oh my gosh, I love that card. That we had to like disallow that card in a couple of games because people were getting really upset about that one. All right, so another card that you can use, if you can use item cards to defend yourself. And so you have like this trap card. So like in battle, use this trap to trash the enemy battle card. Enemy can escape by rolling a 6. So you just, if you had this card in your hand, you got attacked, you could use that to make sure that you kill off their card, unless obviously they roll that 6. Here, let's see if I roll it. Woo. Nope, 3. So then I would lose my knight if that was the case. So that is like another type of thing that people can do when they they get attacked and if they choose what they're going to do. Finally, a player can use a card that has the ability to block attacks, and usually that's going to be a structure. However, some things, like this priest here, can block attacks as well. So, like if you have a structure, like this stronghold here, it just says blocks attacks, and all you do is you play that card, you put it down, and you prevent the attack from happening, and it doesn't occur. Some structures, like this one, the Archer Tower, you may defend for mana stones. Now, what you do in this case is that, notice how all of these structures have like a 0. Well, some of them, I think there's some that actually have an attack value on them, but they have a 0, so you actually get to roll the die, and then you compare the results. If you win a battle using you get to roll, and you have to have that ability, like you can may defend for a mana stone. You roll the die and you compare it to the attacker, and in that case then you would, like if you won, you'd get the mana stone and then you'd stop that person's attack at that particular turn. If you lose, you still don't lose the defensive card. It isn't just discarded. You just don't get the mana stone in that case. And all these times I'm saying you get mana stones, I should mention one thing. Mana stones give you a little bit of, like each one that you have gives you an extra like summoning power, each one, on a 1-for-1 basis. But you can't keep them forever. Basically, you can keep them till your next summoning turn, where you're going to be like actually spending your mana to buy things, or summon things, I should say. But if you don't use them, you have to put them back into the pile. So they aren't like something you can hold on to forever. Now I should mention 2 last things. If you use a card that blocks the attack, you do get to keep that in your hand, no matter what. So like you show it, and even in the case of the Archer's Tower, when you use it to roll against the other player, you just show it. Maybe you roll the die to see if you earn a mana stone, but then you put it back into your hand because it hasn't been the attack doesn't make you discard it. And then the other thing is that at some point you might have a situation where your hand just doesn't have anything that you can use to defend yourself with. In which case, then you just have to like basically discard one of your cards. So like if all you had was a bunch of mana cards in your hand for whatever reason, like you just because of whatever, you'd have to discard, pick one, probably a mana 1 card, and just discard that card, and then because you didn't have any other options for you at that time. So but you have to actually show your hand to show that you don't have that ability. All right, so the summoning phase. Now normally, unless you've got another card that gives you a plus summon, like here you have like this Citadel, that if you have it, it has a +1 summon, so you can purchase more than one or summon more than one. You total up the total number of mana you have because of like your monsters that like survive their attacks. Remember, if you lose your monster because it got trashed or discarded, and I shouldn't say monster, you use your battle card, because they got trashed or discarded, you don't get the bonus that's on the other side. Remember that. You can't keep that. Then you take all of the, like, if you have any stones there, if you, the mana cards in your hand, anything else you have a bonus, maybe you have some from knowledge cards or what have you, and then you can use it to purchase a card, just like you would do in a lot of these games when you played deck builders before. Take that card, you put it in your discard, take the rest of your cards, put them in your discard, and draw back up to 5. The moment that you don't have enough cards to, to put your hand back to 5, you shuffle up your discard. Like, so if you have 3 cards left, you pick up those 3, you shuffle your discard together, and then you put it down and you draw 2 more cards, so you have 5, just like you would do in any other deck building game. The game continues until all of the knowledge cards have been purchased. Once all the knowledge cards have been purchased, that signals that the game is over. Then each person is going to take the time to look through all of their cards, total up the number of victory points, which are the knowledge points that they have, and then go ahead and declare the winner, whoever has the most points. I forgot one other thing, I do apologize. So I mentioned that you can get cards revived. Basically what you have is, like, usually it's a priest or like maybe the paladin card. So it's a revival battle card from your graveyard or trash and put it at the top of your deck. One of the cool things about this is that when cards get trashed, and that you can resurrect anybody's trashed card. It isn't just your own card. So if somebody like spent like five mana stones, got a wizard, got that wizard killed in a trap or something like that, it goes in the trash. If you're the next person up and you have that priest in your hand, you play it, you could revive that particular wizard that used to be for the person and put it back in your hand. Something that I really, really liked about this game as well. So I mean, it's just a really, really good fantasy-based deck builder with a lot of really fun things that go on in it. But let me talk more about that in my final thoughts. Alright, thank you very much for learning how to play Knowledge. Okay, so I kind of went off a little bit in both the introduction and a little bit, as I showed you how to play the game as well, as to the parts of the game that I really, really liked and what I was, kind of inspired by as far as just the game and the theme and what have you. I dig fantasy themes. I am an RPGer first and foremost. I love playing RPGs. I love reading RPG source books. I am always inspired by, like, TV and novels and comic books and what have you, and I'm always like collecting ideas and themes, and that was one of the things that really struck me as I played this game. All of a sudden, as I was playing it, and like, I don't know if this will ever come to fruition, but I had this idea of this, magical world or what have you, and I like of this D&D world that I could create, where maybe there would be like these like these 6 like powerful wizards or whatever that were in like behind the shadows type of thing. They didn't really come out, but they were like the movers and the shakers of the world, and how like what they didn't love gold, they didn't love magic, they only loved knowledge, and so like they could send the players out to like deep ancient tombs and crypts and what have you, and like seeking little tiny bits of knowledge here and there. And so it was just like I had this idea as I was playing this game. I like already was like creating this in my head, and I always carry a notebook wherever I go, and I scrawled out a bunch of ideas, and who knows, maybe that'll come into make a D&D game out of that someday. But regardless, I mean, that really doesn't mean much as far as like how the game works. I mean, so just put a pin in that for a second. The game works excellently. I love the different powers of the different cards. I think there's nothing I really felt that was out of place or out of the ordinary. Everything seemed to work within the theme and made sense. This was one of the few things. I mean, yeah, you could probably transplant this process and you could make it in space or what have you, but it really felt at home in the setting that the designer had made for it, and so I really liked how this worked, and I liked how they didn't go with the generic tropes too of like orc, goblin, dragon. Yeah, those are in the game, but they have other weirder things as well, like earth movers or like a moving fortress. There's like a fortress that can move and attack and things like that. And so, I liked that they kind of went out of the box of the standard fantasy and they kind of made it their own thing. Something that I really appreciated. Now, as I said, the game is just solid. I mean, I like deck builders that allow me to really, really dig my feet in and go after other people, and so having good attack cards in this game is a really, really good way of like really limiting what other people do. Remember, if you can get your battle card to go through the entire round of the table, you get its special powers, but more or less likely you have probably, weakened the other players in some way, shape, or form before it got back to them. So, I mean, you have, because you've taken cards out of their hand and made them discard them before they get to go. So, I mean, that is something that I really, really enjoyed. I mean, I always get a little bit annoyed when like somebody, there's nothing I can do to stop somebody from obviously going through the motions, going through the processes of winning. I love the secret knowledge cards, as I said. You don't know what cards underneath, like the legend card or the potion card or the knowledge cards. I love that aspect of the game. I mean, there was just a lot about this one that I really liked. So I mean, just from a pure deck building mechanism card, like the bare bones of the game, highly enjoyable. Now take that, go back to that with that pin that I put in. When I can play a game, and not only am I enjoying it with the other players at the table, but the fact that like it gives me like a feeling. Like I used to call it when I did my reviews a long time ago. I said if I find myself smiling to myself as I play the game. Now that doesn't mean I'm playing. I'm sitting there playing the game, but I mean, like, I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of humming along, and I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about here. It's like you're kind of playing it, and you're just kind of almost just anxious for your next turn, or you're anxious to see the next card, or you're anxious to see, how you're going to put those cards together and take an action on your turn and see what happens. And I found myself, there wasn't a slog in this game. There wasn't a, like, oh, gosh, just like, yes, another turn of, okay, I got no bad, summon, take this card, add it here, okay, go, shuffle, 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 okay. I never felt like that when I played this game. I always was, like, kind of highly intensified as to which card I think would work really well. And I saw the person playing the battle card, having the decision to make of which card I'm going to use. Do I want to gamble and try to, like, fight back and beat them and put my card at risk just so I can get, an extra mana stone on my turn? Stuff like that. I mean, there was a lot going on, but not so much that the game was too complex or like I couldn't feel like I had a grasp on it, but enough to go that it was happening that it kept me on my toes and kept me engaged the entire time. So, plus it really helps that it seemed to me that nobody ever really seemed to run away with it. Everybody was always kind of at the same, level, the same processing, and like, as far as who had the most points at the end of the game, it really was a toss-up. I mean, like, nobody had any idea until we finally got to the end and we counted up our points and saw who the winner was. So, for all those reasons and more, I really, really enjoyed playing Knowledge the game. So, and if you're a fan of deck builders and you're a fan of fantasy themes, I think this is a no-brainer. I think you should check this one out. So, there you go. That is Knowledge the game. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.